Hi, Gary Chillingworth here for Airgun World Magazine, Shooting and Country TV. Welcome to Life at a Range. Today we have part 2 of Back to Basics with Daystate. Now, thank you so much for all the feedback we got from part 1. You guys really seem to like the idea that we're going to do a real back to basics, and we're going to look at everything in depth from buying your first rifle to today we're looking at telescopic sights, and then all the way through to competing at high level. Now, today's video is all about optics, telescopic sights. Now, last time we looked at buying, basically buying your first gun, and we looked at the different types of rifles there are, and that was easy. When it comes to optics, optics are hard, because there are so many different types of optics. And I can sit here and tell you, go out and buy this XYZ, because that's what I use. And for me, that's the best optic in the world. It's got a certain type of reticle, it's got a certain type of magnification, and for me, it's absolutely perfect. And for you, it will be completely the wrong type of scope. Even if you're shooting in the same type of competition as me, HFT, it still might be the wrong type of scope. And let's get into why. If you're an airgun shooter, there are sort of two types of people that are going to be shooting airguns. There are going to be people who use their scope to range find. And there are those who, once a scope is slapped on top of the rifle, ideally never want to touch it again. Now, if you're the type of person who wants to range find, you're probably going to be a field target shooter, an FT shooter. You're going to have a scope. I'll put a picture of one up here. This is a big Nico that has got a big 60mm objective lens and a 50 times magnification, and you'll be able to see up a rabbit's nose at 30-40 yards. And that's a brilliant scope. And the reason they have these massive objectives and high magnification is it gives the rifle a very shallow depth of field. Now, that's the first thing we're going to talk about, depth of field. Now, here we have got our Ghost with our MTC Connect. Now, this is an HFT scope. Now, without touching the scope, and with the way it's set up, and this is set up with a Parallax, so a midpoint of about 25 yards, I can sit there and I can look at an 8-yard target, which is the shortest target we shoot at, and even though it will be quite blurry, again, I'll put a picture here, I'll be able to make out the kill zone, and I'll put my aim point within that kill zone. Then as we go further out, as you can see, we're going to put, so this is 15 yards, this is 20 yards, this is 30 yards where it's now beautifully clear, 35 yards still clear, 40 yards still clear, 45 yards, and now it's a little bit blurry again. And that's because this has got a long depth of field. Because we're shooting on 10 times magnification and we're fixing our parallax at around about 25 yards. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at a 30-yard target with a big Nico scope. So that's again 60mm objective lens. This is the objective lens, this is the ocular lens. So objective and ocular. And what we're going to do is we're now going to look at this 30-yard target, and we're going to set our parallax on the side at 25 yards. And as you can see, you can't see it. At 26 yards it's still blurry, at 27 yards it's still blurry, at 28 yards it's still blurry. At 29 yards we're starting to be able to see it. At 30 yards it's absolutely crystal clear. At 31, a little bit of blur, 32, more blurry, 33, and now we can't really make it out. And that is designed to have a very, very narrow depth of field. So if you're a FT shooter and you're sitting on your big cushion and you've got your scope, your gun up against your eye and you're looking through your scope and you've got your big parallax wheel, you're dialing, you're going back and then you're coming backwards and backwards, and now it's lovely and clear. You then look on the side wheel on the side and it says 28 yards. You have to set all this up, but what you do is you use that parallax on the side to range find. So that's the difference mainly between using a large scope with a big objective and a high mag, and you use that for range finding, or using a relatively small scope to get that extra long depth of field. The next bit we're going to look at is first and second focal plane. Now, to do that, we need a reticle. So what we're going to do is we've got our reticle, standard 30-30 ret, also known as crosshairs. Now, for those of you who are my kind of age, in your 50s, do you remember a program years ago called Take Heart with the amazing Tony Hart? Well, I never did manage to get onto the gallery. If you're old, you'll know what I'm talking about. Right, so here is our rabbit target, rabbit whatever it is, and here is our reticle. And as you see, rabbit is going to have a bad day. Now, if you're shooting second focal plane, this crosshair here will never ever change. The target might get further away and as it comes in, but the only thing you're magnifying is that picture there. So it's coming in and out, so it's getting bigger, it's getting bigger, it's getting smaller. Insert the famous Father Ted joke here about cows being very far away. Now the danger with that is if you are using a reticle like this that has got half mil dots and mil dots, that's your 30-yard mark. As you can see, you are putting your 30-yard in the middle of the rabbit, so it starts off there, and as it moves away it changes, and that is a second focal plane. This stays in one place and this moves in and out. However, if you're using a first focal plane scope, see there's our 30-yard in that, and basically the reticle moves with the rabbit. So no matter what you change your magnification, the ret comes with it. So you've always got exactly the same aim points. So if you're going to be a hunter, using a scope like a first focal plane is really important for you, because you can wind back to 4 or 5 magnification, and that will increase the circumference you can see. And then when you see the animal you want to shoot at, you can wind up the magnification and all of your aim points will stay the same. If we're using a second focal plane scope, if you're going to look on 3 mag and you're going to shoot on 10, you're going to need 2 completely sets of different aim points for 3 and 10 yards. So that's the difference between first and second focal plane in its most basic sense. We want to talk about trajectory. This is your apogee. The pellets don't really fly in that much of an arc, but your perspective is that they fly in an arc. So this dotted line is your basically when you look in your scope, it's going in a straight line. So the pellet will hit below that straight line and it will come up, it will go past your point of view and it will go up and it will go around. So if you've got a 40-yard zero, which is this crosshair here, you have your 8-yard mark is 1 dot below. Your 45-yard aim point is a half a dot below. Then your 40, where it intersects here, 40 intersects there, but it also intersects here. So your 15 and your 14 are the same aim point. So then you've got your 35 because it's gradually climbing, and then you've got your 30 and your 25, and the 25 is the top of your apogee. That means between your 8 and your 45, at no point will that pellet go above your 25-yard aim point. That is the very top of the mark. And you do this by shooting paper. You set targets out 8 to 45 yards, and then you see where the pellet lines up with the mark on your scope. Most people can get away with a good half mil dot reticle. The MTC reticles are very, very good, and they give you plenty of information. But then there's another issue that you need to think about. My eyes have been getting older. I'm 55 here now and I'm getting older. And back in the day, I used to like a really fine reticle. The finer the reticle, the more information you can see around the reticle. As I've got older, I need a thicker reticle because I struggle to actually see the target, the reticle, and all the information around. Now scopes will come with this. This is called a fast focus. It's on the back of the scope, and basically you just twist it in and out. Well, you try and twist it in and out. I'll tell you what, we use this one. There's nothing wrong with that. Probably my fingers. Right, so this is our fast focus, and you twist it in and out and you look through, and that will actually sharpen up the reticle. So when you're first setting up a scope, and our next video, part number 3, will be setting up a scope and building a range card. But as you're looking, see, we're already getting ready to do that. As you're looking through and you're twisting it in and out, you'll see that reticle will actually come in and out. And it is a balance of getting that fast focus right and getting that reticle nice and tight and having all the information that's around it still looking good, because adjusting the fast focus will also affect the way that you look at the other information that you get through the scope. So you can buy a scope that's got a fine ret, and as you're old, if your eyes are tired and you're out there shooting and you're blinking and things like that, turn the illuminated ret on, and now you can look through the scope, and you've just got that little bit of extra help. I have mine on, but I keep it quite low on 3 or 4 points. If you start going very, very high, you end up with you can get some bleed out. But if you just keep it there, just sort of like 3 or 4 out of 10, it's just enough that when you're looking through, that if you're looking at in a dark area and you've got a dark kill zone and you've got a yellow faceplate, and you can look through and you can just put that red exactly where you need it, it can be a big help. So I certainly think an illuminated reticle is a good thing. Just remember to switch it off, because I've got through so many batteries over the years. Now, again, eyes are an issue, and this is why I always say don't go and buy a scope, just buy it online. Go to a decent gun shop. And our other title sponsor, see the way I've worked into that, our lovely sponsors, the Surplus Store in Crawley, will give you a 5% discount if you use the code GC5. If you go to our wonderful sponsor and you actually look through scopes that are there, the scope that works for me doesn't automatically mean it will work for you. Everybody's eyes are different. So have a look through, and when you're buying a scope, fix it on 10 mag and look at your 8 yards and your 45 and look at all the information around you. And this is the other thing. If you find a scope you really like and it's off the rack, ask them if you can buy that scope. or if they bring you out a brand new one, do the same tests on the brand new one as you do on the one you've had off the rack, because when you're at the more budget end of the market, not all scopes are created equal. You get some good ones, you get some bad ones, so find one that really works for you. But yeah, so that's pretty much about it. Now, some scopes come with adjustable parallax, and this will be on the front end of the scope. I think that's an AFO scope. Then you've got what we call a side parallax. This is where you adjust your parallax, and some are fixed, like the older version of the S10i by Fulcrum. Now, what is parallax? We've spoken about parallax quite a lot. Parallax is really important. More people miss through parallax error than virtually any other thing in HFT. We've done this before, but we'll do it again. Take your thumb, put it directly in front of you and pick a point. At the moment, I'm picking the lens of the camera. Close your left eye or your right eye, it doesn't really matter, but close your left eye and then move your head fractionally to the left. And you'll see that your thumb has now moved to the right-hand side of the thing you're looking at, even though you have not moved your thumb. So this is your eye, you're perfectly in line with the scope, and your head's slightly off, and you can see that you're now going to miss to the right-hand side. Obviously, if you go left, it's going to the right, your thumb goes to the left. If it goes up, it goes low. If it goes down, it goes high. That is parallax error in its most basic form. Now, if you're shooting a target at 25 yards and you set your parallax on the side at 25 yards, that will compensate it. So if, for instance, this won't work, but if you had your thumb like that and it was set and I had a parallax wheel on the side of my thumb, no matter what I did, my thumb would move and I'd bang on every single time. Obviously in HFT, you're not allowed to adjust your parallax for each shot. You have to keep it fixed. So you want a scope that doesn't have a lot of error. Now, with a telescopic sight, you have this thing called eye relief. So I'm looking through here, and that is roughly the correct eye relief for me. And I reckon that's around about 3 inches. Put that there, let's have a look. Yeah, about 3 inches. Now, you also have some scopes, like this is an MTC Connect. The lens is literally just there. And for this one, you put your eye right up to the lens. Now, some of you may think, well, that wouldn't be good if I was shooting a 50 cal. You're right. These scopes are actually designed for semi-recoiling rifles. You could use them on a 22LR, you could use them on a 17 HMR, you can certainly use them on a PCP. I actually used one of these on a Springer because my Springer doesn't recoil very much, and I won the UK HFT round 2 at Wormersley with it. So really nice scope. But the advantage, we use our thumb again, if I'm 3 inches away and I'm moving my head, you can see there's a fair amount. If I put that there and your eye is right up on the scope, the same fraction of a millimetre of movement there or there, and you can see that the thumb does not move anywhere as much as it does there for the same amount of movement, because this is a low parallax error scope. And if you're a beginner in shooting, the MTC Connect series is a really good scope to use. I mean, they're high quality. They're not a cheap scope. I think these are just over £300. But it will certainly cut down on your It will certainly cut down on your parallax error. So when you go out and you want to look for a scope, you could buy one with a 24mm objective lens, or one like this Connect, which has got a 32mm objective lens. This has got a 50mm objective lens. What size do you go for? Is bigger better? Okay, I pretty just heard my wife shout something then. Again, it depends what you want. We've just spoken about depth of field and things like that, and the big Nico having a 60mm objective and a high mag and da da da. The bigger the gloss, the more light it's going to suck in. A 24mm objective lens is tiny and it won't suck in that very much light. But we're not shooting hundreds of yards. We're shooting relatively short distances with a sub 12 foot-pound air gun. But we are shooting in woodland, and on very dark days, drawing enough light into your scope can be difficult. When you look at the amount of people out there, a huge amount of shooters like something around about 32 to 40mm. Yes, the Falcon S10i has got a 24mm. There is an older MTC Connect, so you can't get them anymore, that has got a 24mm objective lens. And I have used all of these scopes, and these 24mm, they bring in enough light. The 32s, I think, is an absolute perfect medium. There used to be a scope many years ago. It's long defunct now, and it was a Leupold 32mm, and that was like the go-to scope for HFT. We then had the Optisan 10x32. We've always had the Connect, the 32mm Connect. So it seems to be that certainly for HFT and for hunting out to about 50 yards, a smaller objective is better than having these huge, great big scopes like you used to see, like the old Richter optic scopes years ago with a massive great objective and huge, great big tubes and all that kind of stuff. And from a practical point of view, if you go for a smaller lens, a smaller lens is cheaper to produce than a big 60mm objective. So the companies can create, for the same price point, a better quality lens at 32 than they can at 60. So if they were looking to do a £300 scope, by having a 32mm objective, they can use a higher quality of glass. But a 32mm is certainly is a good ballpark for HFT, for hunting and things like that. But again, it's one of these things that get to a club and start looking through the scopes. The same goes with magnification. You can get rifles with variable magnification and some that are a fixed 10. Virtually everybody I know who shoots in HFT shoots on 10 mag. It's quite rare to find someone who shoots on 8. There are some people, even rarer for people to shoot on 12. I think 12 is the maximum in HFT. Most people stick to 10. So if you've got a variable mag, all you're doing is adding an extra lens within the scope. So fixed 10s can be a big advantage. But again, a variable mag will give you a certain amount of adjustability. If you want to go and do some hunting, if you're in a barn and you want to be shooting rats and things like that, which are very sort of close, shooting on 10 mag is overkill. So you want to ramp it down to 4 or 5. Well, I think that's about it. We've gone through a scope, we've looked at all the different bits and bobs, and we now have got a rough idea of what type of scope we need. Our next video is going to be attaching the scope to the gun and building a range card and getting in some accuracy. Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate you joining the channel. I hope you're enjoying Back to Basics with Daystate. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you all again very soon. Ta-da!